All right. Well, we're going to get started. My name is Tim Cole, and I'm with Waypoint Church Partners. I want to welcome you to our monthly um, Waypoint 55 webinar that is a ministry-related topic in 55 minutes or less. And we have a variety of topics that we get to talk about in kind of in a rotation, whether it's a lay leader in the church that oversees the prayer team or the safety and security team or elders or deacons or other areas. And so we're glad that you're joining us here for a relatively new conversation. And we've got a couple of guests joining us tonight, really from the Carolina Christian Youth Convention, but talking to us about their Young Leaders program. As always, I want to uh, thank our sponsor of our ministry platform, our webinar platform from day one, the last 6, 7 years has been Mid-Atlantic Christian University in Elizabeth City. And we share a very similar Mid-Atlantic region of serving and supporting churches and leaders. And so we're very thankful that they have sponsored our webinar platform from our first webinar. Now we've got more than 100 webinars now that are trying to equip lay leaders in the church to thrive so that the church can thrive. So we're glad that you're here with us tonight. If you're just joining us in person, we would love for you to hit the chat and let us know where you're joining from. If you're joining us on YouTube, we want to welcome you as well after the fact. And I do want to let you know that we do have a YouTube channel that we would love for you to um, look for, just Waypoint Church Partners, but then subscribe to that so that you get a notification when this webinar, but any webinar from Waypoint gets posted. And then we'd love for you to recommend those webinars that are for other lay leaders in your church in areas that you may not be participating in. But you can say, hey, there was a great webinar for your missions committee chairperson or for your prayer team chairperson or first impressions or something like that. And so on your recommendation, they will be able to watch those webinars as well. We do have a webinar on this topic. Let me see if I can share this really quickly. We did a webinar, where is that? In February, so about 6 months ago, about raising up teenagers in your church. And so it's a similar topic 6 months later. And there's a new um, movement of the Holy Spirit, I believe, in the church to raise up a whole new generation after we've been in a generation where the pipeline has effectively dried up, that there is more than just ripples, but actually a coming wave of ministry leaders in our churches that we have the opportunity to equip and encourage. And so I'm thankful for the conversation that we're going to have tonight. I just want to introduce you to Corbin Kuhn and Chris Woolard, and I want to have them just introduce themselves to us quickly. If you don't know them, many of you may know them through their leadership at the Carolina Christian Youth Convention. But if you guys would just very quickly give us the quick, 30, 60-second version of how you got to here today.
What's up, guys? I'm Chris. Glad to be here. I'm down in Wilmington, North Carolina. 13 years ago, we planted Venture Church. So that's my main day job is working as the pastor with Venture, but I'm plugged in with a lot of other ministry and a lot of things. I've been serving with CCYC since I think 2005, where I came on just as one of the planning volunteers. CCYC is led by lay leaders and staff of churches that just come and plan a conference every year. It's the Carolina Christian Youth Conference, not convention. Just want to make sure y'all get the branding right for us.
Mhm.
But we
Sorry
do
about that.
no worries. I'm just messing around. But we've been doing that for years. Sometime into my service with them, I became the executive director of CCYC for about 9 years. And just really have loved to see the team grow and work, and handed it off to Corbin, and then continued to work first on the planning team in a lot of capacities, and then most recently as the director of the Young Leaders Program. And so that's who I am. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Wilson, North Carolina, Stony Brook Church of Christ, and
All right.
grew up as the son of a pastor and the grandson of two pastors. So I was a little bit doomed to be in it. Ran from the Lord for a little while, but he said, "No, I got you," and
Mhm.
haven't looked back.
All right, great. Corbin, how about you?
Very cool. Yeah, I'm Corbin Kuhn, and I grew up in Norfolk, Virginia. And a fun little connection is that deep roots of family members and influences in the church. But a good one is that Chris was his first ministry was with Colonial Heights Church of Christ, where I grew up in Norfolk, starting to go to church, and so there's a little bit of a young leader influences there, right? And so yeah, I grew up there. I moved to Elizabeth City back in 2009 to go to Mid Atlantic Christian University. Graduated from there. I've been with Town South Church of Christ here in Elizabeth City for about 10 years now, in a variety of ways now. As first as the youth pastor, youth minister for 8.5 of those years, and the most recent, what we call the outreach minister now.
All right.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna be at Colonial Heights this Sunday, actually.
Oh,
So
cool.
yeah.
Wow,
Tell them we
So
both said
wow.
hey.
all right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
I
some people
will.
there. There's some people
Yeah.
there that might know us. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep,
All
yep.
right.
yeah.
Well, you guys both have been deeply involved with the Carolina Youth Conference. And if one of you could just kind of share the story of the genesis of, well, first of all, for those people who've never been to CCYC,
Mhm,
tell us when it is, the scope of, how many kids typically come,
mhm.
and what would happen at the conference in that period of time.
Yeah, very cool. I'll take this one, Chris. And so right now, CCYC is currently happening as a weekend conference every third weekend in February. And so last year it just happened to fall on Valentine's Day, which it was a romantic weekend for a lot of couples. And this past year we had our largest CCYC to date. We were over 2,000 in
Hmm.
attendance, and we're projected this year to even surpass last year's numbers. And so we're grateful for that, and very grateful to be at the Corey Convention Center in Greensboro with a great leadership team there that welcomes us open arms now. And, just a great team of, like Chris mentioned a little bit, of lay leaders and volunteers and people from around the states of North Carolina and Virginia, South Carolina, and even Tennessee that come to our planning team to help organize, plan, and execute CCYC every year. And so that's the heartbeat of our ministry, is for those 6th through 12th grade students to be able to have a weekend in the winter months of the year where there's not much going on, to inspire them, to pump them up and connect to Jesus. And so our goal is to help them connect with other students originally from around North Carolina, but that's grown to participants from Tennessee and Virginia and Pennsylvania, West Virginia,
West
who come to
Virginia.
that come to our conference now, and
Mhm.
to be the hands and feet of Jesus when they go back home to their
Yeah.
places. Yeah.
So in the time slot that you've got them, what happens? Well, I'm assuming, there's main sessions, but so
Sure.
summarize the schedule very quickly for me.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, the heartbeat of the conference is our main sessions, is what they're called, and
Mhm.
over the weekend, 3 of those occur. And so we have usually a speaker, and right now we currently have a band consisting of people from around the state of North Carolina who are all in worship ministry, who are awesome leaders that are leading us in worship every year at our conference. Um, then we usually have someone who's been affiliated or connected to in CCYC in some way who will be speaking and pouring into the students during those sessions. And last year, Chris was able to be the speaker for it, who has a heart for CCYC and what's happening in North Carolina. This year we have Tyler McKenzie, who is from Louisville, Kentucky, but he grew up in Winston-Salem and he grew up coming to CCYC, coming to pour into our students. And outside of that, we have a ton of fun stuff. Obviously, it's a youth conference, so we get crazy a little bit with them and have a good time. And then
Mhm.
there is what we call workshops. And so we have anywhere from 6 to 8 workshops that are centered around relevant topics, around the theme that we've created that year, to pour into those students and give them extra knowledge and wisdom and connection and support as they try to live out their life as a young person for Jesus.
All right. Super.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, I forgot to say to those who are joining us in person tonight, if you've got a question for Corbin or Chris along the way, there's a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Hit the Q&A button and type it as soon as you think of it. And I've got a queue over on the side of my screen that'll let us know that you've asked a question. I'll try and either interject in
cool.
between slots or at the end of our session tonight to be able to ask that question to either Chris and or Corbin, which is one of the benefits of joining our webinars in person each month rather than watching after the fact. So if you got a question, just hit the Q&A button and ask right away. So since Corbin just answered, we're going to kind of tag team this. But Chris, why don't you start by just sharing kind of the genesis of this whole idea of we've got to get young leaders in the church, students, empowered for ministry, unlike we have for the last 20 or 30 years in the church. Unfortunately, when did that conversation start?
Yeah, so I mean, around many spheres of influence, you hear people talking about how difficult it is to find church staff. Many of our greatest leaders right now are at a retirement age and they deserve to be able to retire. And we're always looking down the pipeline. Who's next? Who's next? Who's next? That's just leadership. I think that's just good leadership, empowering
Hmm.
that and passing it on. And so the genesis of this program is nothing new. I mean, I've said this a lot of times. I think the kingdom of God is in good hands because the Holy Spirit is present and Jesus really cares about it. So when you feel like the sky is falling in the kingdom of God and you're freaking out, it's probably because you haven't spent much time in prayer or reading scripture. And I have to check myself on that all the time. And so but instead looking at the resources, the vast resources in the kingdom in North Carolina, there was a moment where Corbin and we just talk about this moment where we were hanging out in a storage closet. It literally happened like this. We were at a CCYC 2 years ago, and we were both in a storage closet. I was leading a workshop that year. Corbin's the director right now. I think we were looking for a box of pins, and we were like digging through all the boxes, and we just chattering while we're working, and it came up that there was this idea, this dream of what if CCYC. Corbin stated it. The mission statement of CCYC is to bring students together to empower them, and then to send them home as the hands and feet of Jesus.
Hmm.
And it's really crucial. And it was a shift when some of our team began to shift mission almost 20 years ago. It wasn't just to create a conference because there are churches that probably put on better worship events than a conference every week, and probably not most churches, but in terms of like flash and bang. But we said, what do we really exist for? And it was just to like create these discipleship moments to get these kids active in building the kingdom. So there in this closet, we just began to talk about what if we could harness this amazing platform that is the Carolina Christian Youth Conference and look out at that audience of thousands of kids and just tell them God can use you. And so we just began to dream of a program. And we said, well, what if we just use this platform to launch the program? And I'll tell you, from that conversation to the launch of the first class of students, um, was 1 year. In 1 year, we just and we could talk some about that, but we kind of divided. We kind of took some time and we just talked about it, and we created what has become the goal or the mission statement of CCYC Young Leaders, which is to identify and mentor 200 students towards a life of ministry by 2030. So we gave ourselves 5 years. We said, what can we do in 5 years to find
Hmm.
200 kids and tell them God can use you in a major way? That was the beginning of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't know the storage closet story. So that's a great beginning. So you said so we've got to use the conference as the platform to tell kids that you
Mhm.
can be used by God in the church.
That's
So
right.
then just tell us. So what was your first step to start getting organized and start thinking about so what would a program start looking like to come together?
Yeah, I got to give credit where credit's due. There were a lot of people already having these conversations, and I can't point to the exact moment where we started gaining traction and where it could become a real thing, but I really think there was a group of ministers, of preachers, pastors in Eastern North Carolina who are already planning a meeting at Christ Church in Greenville, which is where I spent some youth ministry time there. Tim Turner has been a big mentor to me for many
Hmm.
years,
Yep.
and they were just going to get together and talk about the question, where is the next generation of preachers going to come from? And I got an invite to that. And in the pre-conversations of that meeting, I called a couple of those guys and said, hey, there's something cooking at CCYC. I'd love to get some feedback on it. And by the end of those conversations, Tim just said, hey, why don't we just turn that whole meeting into you tell us what you think could happen? And so just kind of leveraging that group that they had
Yeah.
already started and the conversations that were already going on, they were so gracious just to let us come in. And we were very straightforward saying, look, man, we don't have a plan. We got a dream, we got a network, we got people, God's got resources, but we don't have a full plan. But this is what we imagine happening. So pitch the idea of a 12-month leadership program where a kid would be paired with some adults and he'd go through some curriculum. And there were a lot of questions out the gate, like, what about, is this a preacher program? Is this what kind of program is it? Is this a Bible college? And we said, man, it's a ministry of CCYC to help these kids take some next steps. And so it's for boys, it's for girls, it's for people who want to be vocational ministers, it's for people who don't even know what they want to do when they grow up. Because when you're in the ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th grade, you don't have a clue sometimes. But we want to put them in front of resources and people who can say, yeah, we see this in you, or maybe we don't see that in you, but we see this in you.
Hmm.
That was really where the traction began to take off. And then from there, we
Right.
just we hosted a series of online chats, over a half a dozen of them overall. I think we met with about leaders from about 70 churches, mostly in Eastern North Carolina, but all over. Um, and just saying, listen, if we were to kick off this program, one of the things we're going to need from you are students. We can't do the program without students. We also need grace. We call it a beta year. We're like, this is the beta year. We're throwing stuff at the wall, see what sticks, because we could spend the next 10 years developing a program and miss 3 generations of leaders. Or we could just go because we know enough to get going. Um, and we need help financially. Like we want to invest in these kids. We want to be able to give them free stuff. Nobody involved in our playing team gets a penny of it, but we want to make sure the kids have resources that we can maybe pay some coaches, which we do now, and print materials, T-shirts for the kids that they can be proud of. And I mean, it was so cool that there was like almost instant and unanimous. Everyone was like, "Yeah, like where do we sign up? How do we get our kids in this?"
Right.
Yeah.
And to echo that, Tim, I think a little side note is we were in that closet at CCYC at the conference. A month later, I was at our planning team meeting
Mhm.
while this meeting Chris is referring to was going to happen. So while he told the older generation of guys about this, I got to speak to our 40, 45 members on our team, say, hey, look,
Mhm.
this is a crazy idea and we don't know everything about it, but we're just going to go do it and see what happens. And that's a lot of that traction and energy and support is probably coming stemming from a couple of those meetings that we had early on.
Yeah.
And it's been an immense amount of grace and trust from a
So,
lot of people who just kind of they know CCYC and they trust CCYC. And what we can continue to share is like we want to continue to earn your trust and to be patient, but also we want to deliver on something that could really make a difference. And so like I just want to say like as many times as possible, man, it's just been so much grace from these leaders who said, yeah, we're with you.
Yeah. Well, I forgot to ask, but we'll move on. Hopefully, people watching this webinar even know that I don't think we have to talk too long about the fact that there's a need. There's just a need for a new generation, and unfortunately, in the last generation, even our Bible colleges, the ministry departments have been significantly reduced compared to where they used to be. And I remember I'm old now, but it was uh, in my generation that like college recruitment became a big deal and recruitment teams and all this, and that seemed like a good thing. But I remember even an old guy back when I was in Bible college said him saying, "I don't know if this is a good thing because in my generation the churches sent kids to Bible college. You didn't have to recruit them." And I remember that. I mean, that was like 40 years ago. The guy said that. And and so now to me, it's coming full circle back all the way around to where we were maybe in the 50s and 60s, where churches sent their kids to Bible college because they were already encouraged and even equipped somewhat for ministry. And that going to say, not that every kid that you've got is going to go to Bible college, but I'm just saying that the church is taking the role of raising up church leaders rather than just saying we're going to send kids to college and let the college equip them. And so I
right.
think I
Well, I'd love to tack onto that because I think this is a huge piece of the puzzle that, I mean, even Jesus recruited leaders. And I think recruitment is important. And but not in the case of like twisting their arm and tricking them, bait and switch and offering them scholarships. And those things can be helpful. And maybe Jesus did some of that. I mean, he gave away fish and bread, I guess. I don't know. But I think the real thing is that people need to be told that there is the option of ministry. And that's recruitment. And I think that whether it's Bible college or seminary or just a chance to lead a communion meditation or a Sunday school class, If we're not recruiting our leaders, I mean, we're not going to have them. And so, yeah, I think it's really important for us to just continue to be in a kid's ear to say, like, this is an option. This is something that you can do, and I see it in you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The I see in you conversation is huge.
Right.
Is huge.
Yeah.
Well, Corbin, I don't know if you guys planned who might be talking about what, but
Mm.
I'm just very curious. We could go through the whole
Yep.
planning process, but tell us, once you thought you had a plan that was halfway put together, what were the components of your first year, your beta year? You decided, okay, here we're going to do this, 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 and this. What were the components
Yeah.
of the first year?
Yeah, absolutely. And so there's several big things that we needed. One is how the cohorts that we divided these students into, uh, that we how we're going to do this. Like, what is the nature? What is the setting going to look like, and how is this going to take place the most?
Hmm.
How are we going to kick this thing off? Like, how are we going to launch young leaders officially? Just processes of how to receive applications. Just all the
Hmm.
things for this thing happening in a really fast pace. And so the big important factors was those cohorts and how they're going to exist and what are they going to do together. And so we came up with this idea of having a CCYC coach, which we'll dive into in a little bit, someone that we trust that can represent CCYC really well, but also disciple a handful of young men or young women really, really well. And so we spent some time, and Chris, as we reminisce on that a little bit, we spent some time really wrestling who those people are, and being able to vouch for those people. And so we got those people established, and then from there, the curriculum and the content that they were going to be diving into. How are we going to structure this whole program that they're going to spend ultimately 9 months of curriculum doing. And so, thankfully, because of the vast connections between us being connected to CCYC, Chris's role down in Wilmington, the people he's connected to, same for me, we were able to put together a group of people to help create that content. So we're big on giving credit where credit is due, right? And so we developed this content based on a lot of things that were just out there. They just weren't connected. And a lot of things that
Hmm.
were already existing that are really good things for students and to teach them. And so our teams were put together this process of creating a monthly content for those 9 months and what the students dive into. And so that was one of the unique challenges that took time and energy and effort, but we would never have done it, without some of these people coming on board alongside of us to help create it. Um, and so those are two big pieces that we had to work in
I
early
think that
on to
initial
figure out
planning team was like eight, six, seven,
something like
eight
that.
people,
Right,
and
right,
and we were all meeting together like almost every week just to be like, okay, what is the content? What are we
hmm
teaching them? What are we
right.
challenging them to do?
Yep. Well, so you guys have identified two things: is curriculum and cohorts. So flesh that out a little bit for those who are watching the webinar. What's a cohort look like? Apart from curriculum, but then tell us. So explain now the curriculum. What's that going to look like over 9 months?
Yeah, Chris, I'll let you take that one, man. That's good.
Yeah, so I mean, the foundation of the program is what we call the discipleship triangle,
Yep.
and it consists of three corners. The one corner is the kid. The second corner is their local mentor. And so, a thing that when we talk to church leaders, we say CCYC is not here to disciple your kids. We believe the local church should disciple your
Mhm.
students. And that really helps with a lot of things. And, I mean, we could go into that for a long time, but the local mentor is huge. They guide the kid through the program through the whole year. They meet at least once a month. Many of our mentors are meeting every week with their kids. So the kid, the mentor, and then the cohort. The cohort or the coach, I'm sorry, the coach. The coach leads a cohort of 4 to 5 students that are same gender. And so the definition of coach that we've been using is a seasoned ministry professional, someone that our team trusts. We now have a steering committee that um, kind of just has a good broad network in North Carolina, Virginia, and we trust them, and they have experience in ministry. So whether they have been a full-time staff person at a church, many of them are spouses of a full-time staff person, if they were retired, if they were whatever. Um, and so that triangle is the foundation. And then within that triangle, everything works on a 1 month cycle. And so in the first week of the month, the student meets with the mentor and they look at the curriculum for the month. The curriculum has 3 units throughout 9 months. So it's God, people, and ministry. So they spend 3 months talking about God. This is theology. It's just stuff about God, about Jesus, about the Holy Spirit, about even the church. And they spend time reading scripture. There's five days a week they have a Bible reading plan. Um, and then in their curriculum, they have, like Corbin mentioned, some pre-existing resources. BibleProject.com has some really good videos. That's a lot of our curriculum. Our curriculum team sorts things from blogs, from books, all kinds of stuff, videos on YouTube. Um, and so their mentor will look at the first week of every month. This is your curriculum for the month. And they help them plan it out. It's a leadership program. So we coach the mentors, hey, you know, help them plan. Planning is part of leadership. Help them execute. Execute is part of leadership. Uh, there's a second week to work on the stuff. They might meet with their mentor again, but the third week, the cohort then meets. And since our kids are all spread all over the place, most of them are happening just over video calls. And at the cohort meeting, the third week is there's a sort of an outline that the coaches are encouraged to follow, but where they check in on their Bible reading, they check in on their curriculum, they check in on how their mentor meetings were going, and they check in on one other thing that I'll finish on last, which is the serve the church goal.
Right.
But they check in on all those things, and then that fourth week is a bit of a buffer week. We found it's actually a really good week for a backup week for a meeting because these kids are busy. The type of kid that would sign up for CCYC Young Leaders is also the kid who's playing 3 sports and makes straight A's and leads in their youth group and is a Boy Scout or a Girl Scout or volunteering somewhere else. So that's actually been a big learning curve, is like how involved these kids are and stuff and how hard it is to schedule meetings with them. Um, the last piece of the puzzle for this cohort, for the individual student rather, is what we call the serve the church goal. And it's our goal that in each unit, God, people, ministry, that in each unit of 3 months, the student chooses one area to do a service project for their church. So if you're familiar with like a senior project or make like an Eagle Scout project or just a big capstone project, they actually have to do 3 of those projects, and they work with their coach and their mentor to decide what it is. We tell them in the orientation retreat they go to, they're told, use variety, things that you're passionate about, or maybe things that you want to learn about. So a lot of good success stories with that. I want to share some of those later, but it's a really cool way for them to have hands-on engagement with their local church through only 3 projects. And then they can sit with their cohort and discuss it. How did it go? Or how's the planning going? So that's kind of how the discipleship triangle works in real life in serving the
Mhm.
local church.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I would just trickle in one more key part that I've seen being a blessing in our context with the young leaders that we have in the program in our church is that there's this personal assignment every month. It's kind of a relational goal, and it's encouraging students to have certain conversations with certain people, and to be praying about certain people in their life, and to figure out ways to have those conversations. And in our setting, I've seen our young leaders invite certain people to church and spend time with get them to come to youth group or an outing we had, and no one else knows it, but I just happen to know what's happening behind the scenes, and I know that that's how that person got there. And
Mhm.
so because we challenge them to pray for that person, to engage in conversation with that person, and then to invite or share with that person over the months, I've seen that response. And so I think that's really cool because uh, for a teenager, talking about theology all day, right, has a place. Like, but when you give them something to do to live out their faith, it's been really cool to see them live it out and to be
Hmm.
challenged by it, and the blessing that our church has seen because of it, and I'm sure a lot of these other groups have seen the results of too.
Yeah. Well, that's a great, it's not just a curriculum, it's a great program that's pretty holistic of hitting uh, different angles of discipleship. So that's really, really strong. So tell us
Right.
about how the first year, the beta year, got started as far as getting the kids together and getting them engaged. They don't just join a cohort, presto, they go. So how did you guys get the whole first year rolling?
Yeah.
Your
So
turn,
good. I
Corbin.
mean, yeah, I'll get that one, man. And so the first year, man, took a lot of our goal for the first year was 25 students. And so that was just a fair, reasonable goal in our mind to meet that 200 kid goal by 5 years. And so we were going to up that number per year to get to that goal. And so our first year we hit 18 students, which we're very thankful for. And too much more than that would have been even more challenging for us probably. And so we're thankful for those 18 and that they're where they're at in their journey right now in the content. That took a lot of effort just on our team's part, Chris, I, and many other guys behind the scenes of just calling people, talking to them about it, speaking life into this and saying, hey, look, there's someone that God's put in your ministry and your life that you can do this with. And so it took effort, and we're thankful for the people that responded to that and are seeing the results of it now. And so we have the breakdown. There's let me get Chris's help on that part. We have, I think it's almost half and half,
Yes,
guys and girls.
nine and nine,
Nine,
nine boys, nine
yeah,
girls.
for the first year. Our
Mhm.
coaches, just to highlight and share about the coaches a little bit, that are CCYC coaches. We have Roger Burns and Bobby Wallace. And so some of those guys are familiar names that have come alongside of us, man, and jumped right into this ministry for us. And then we have Addison Lilly, who is over in
Mhm.
Goldsboro, North Carolina at Canvas Church. That's one of our female mentors. And Molly, I'm going to say her maiden name. What's her married name?
Terry.
Yeah, thank you, Molly Perry. And I'm used to the not the other name. And so she's jumped in from the Raleigh Light Devoted City Church is where
Diversity,
she
yes.
serves at.
Mhm.
Yep. And so those are our coaches, man. And we this program needs those people, and we're thankful for them. And so that first year, man, I think has gone incredibly successful. One of the other parts of this thing is that we have a kickoff retreat that started this whole thing back in January. So all of our coaches, all of the students, and our staff, if you will, that are all serving on this team met together at Roanoke Christian Camp to kick this thing off, and we had an amazing weekend together there. We inspired them was the goal. We got them connected with one another to help this cohorts begin to gel and form and come together a little bit to be relational. They get to meet their coach, start the bonding and building that rapport with one another. And then we also just give them the practical side of this, of how to engage with the curriculum. And so they got to spend a session just diving through a practice session that looks just like what they would be doing every month, and to
Mhm.
ask questions, to dive into it, and to interact with it so they can know for sure what they got themselves into. And that it's the words we've been using is our curriculum is challenging but achievable. And we're learning through this year that I think we've almost hit the good spot of it's
Mm.
not too challenging, and it's achievable, and it doesn't swing too hard one way or the other, which I'm thankful for. That is that first year that it's landed right there. So that's
Yeah.
kind of how the first year would has come together for us.
You told me that it's nine guys, nine gals, which is awesome. Give us a snapshot of ages of the 18 as
Mm.
well. And that reminds me, if you're watching online and you got a question for Corbin or Chris, go ahead and hit the Q&A button.
Oh, yeah.
Let us know your
So it's important
question.
to say that the program is designed for 10th through 12th graders. And so all of
Right.
them are 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. I think we ended up with six seniors, if not seven.
Hmm.
Um, I think four of them were boys, and maybe two or three of them were girls. Um, and then the rest were essentially sophomores. And you'll see we started the program in January, so they were all halfway through their school year. Um, and I'll share in a minute a new schedule we've developed. We've learned a lot of things this year. It was our beta year. We're going to be on like beta
Mhm.
2.0 this coming season. Uh, but so the rest of them were essentially juniors, or finishing up their sophomore year. Um, that's the age group. And
Okay.
all of them, this first group was all out of Eastern North Carolina. That's where we had the biggest influence on the most amount of kids directly, primarily through the high school week of camp there. I serve as
Mhm.
the dean for high school week of camp at Roanoke. Um, and so that we just decided, let's just start this. That's going to be our test group right in Eastern North Carolina, but with the goal definitely of like, let's take it to the different regions that CCYC serves.
Yeah, that's great.
Mhm.
So maybe before we get to year two, tell us what are the lessons that you learned from year one.
Mm,
You had these kids that joined, 18 kids. You had the retreat that kicked it off. Then they're in their monthly cohort and their weekly reps with their mentor and their assignments. So how did it work? How did it go?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
I'll just say the first one that comes to mind, and I think Chris can give a little bit more deeper ones that we've kind of gotten. But the first one is what I think both of us have just talked about numerous times is that these students just needed opportunities, right? Like to be invited into something and to participate in something. And so some of the things that we've done is just encourage that invitation and that opportunity to occur. And we're not at all these churches doing this, but because of this curriculum, because of the conversations that we've helped just enable to happen, they've been given these opportunities. And so that's a big one that we've learned is like, man, there's just space in the church to give opportunity, man. It goes a long ways for the next generation. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is a smart place to start is the celebrations. There's so much to celebrate. We were
mhm.
able, Corbin and I were both at High School Week of Camp one day this summer, and we presented it again to a new group of kids.
Yep.
And what we did was had all of the current young leaders come in front of the whole. There's 121 campers that week, and we just said, "Share about your program. Like, what are you doing?" And Corbin and I were both like jaws open as these kids were sharing what they were doing. I thought I knew. I mean, I'd been talking to them. And four of them go to our church. But as I heard them talk about the things that they're doing in their churches, I mean, they're writing curriculums, they're
Right.
leading in
That's
so many
crazy.
different practical ways. Um, like it's working, and it's not even the curriculum that's working. It's not that they
Mhm.
learned something. These kids were like, "Well, we were already ready." You know, most of these kids like already have like a 300-day Bible reading streak on the app, and like they're doing it. There's a lot of good constructively though, so that we can grow. Probably our biggest takeaway was that we needed to align the program with the school year. We kicked off in January. We were halfway through a school year, and we actually knew that was a mistake too late. We decided it was a mistake before it happened, but we had already put the wheels in motion, and so we said, let's just do it. Let's just try it. Let's see if we can pull it off. So starting in January was a big lesson to learn that we shouldn't have started it in January, and primarily this. It was very difficult for our seniors to stay engaged.
Oh, I bet.
Really about April they were checked out, and these were
Mhm.
kids who at the retreat we told them like we see this on the horizon, but we believe that you can stick it out, and we were talking about like a college track and how we would follow them into campus ministry or their career or whatever. But we quick from our coaches. I had a coaches meeting about 3 months in or 4 months in, and they were like, "We can't find our kids. They're just busy. They're not responding. They're not doing their work." And it wasn't because they were bad kids. It was because they're seniors in high school, and there's a lot to do. I can speak highly of them now and say, as time passed, those students did do as much of the work as they could, and they did serve the church goals. But I think right now I know four of them are about to move off to college, and their coaches are all saying like they just can't right now. We can't meet. So we knew that almost the day we launched it in January, but we just were like, man, there's too many pieces rolling in the right direction right now. This is the beta year. Let's see if we can fix it along the way. So back in April or May, we made the decision to course correct and to kick off the second class in September this year. So we're actually going to have overlapping
Mhm.
classes right now. In this September 19th, we have our orientation retreat. This year we're doing it at Camp Rudolph. It's a little more central for more of the kids. Uh, but that shift was huge. Another big lesson that we learned was as it came to um, the serve the church goals, uh, the kids needed a little bit more direction about what they to do. And so we're adjusting that with just a little bit better of a guide for the church, serve the church goals next year. Where like they can have a brainstorming sheet. They can have maybe some questions they can ask their leaders at their church of what's needed. Because sometimes they want to do things, but like, well, no one really needs that right now. That's not what serve. We don't serve so that we can do something cool. We serve to meet a need. Um, and so learning some things there. And I think just recognizing that a thing like this isn't going to take off overnight. I mean, it really has, but it's still very small, and you're just being patient with it. But I think the biggest lesson we learned, and I could probably point to like 10 other things why the schedule needed to be changed. So I won't highlight all of those, but it was just like, man, it needs to line up with the school year. That's how these kids' brains work. September is New Year's Day, and you go from there.
Yeah.
And what that's going to do is place the Carolina Christian Youth Conference event actually halfway through the program. We were going to use it as a kickoff, but we were having two kickoffs, one in January and then the conference in February. But now we get to have a cool check-in in February, where now these kids have been halfway through the program, and
Yeah.
we can really celebrate them from stage, and they'll be glad to see each other again after several months. And um, already, I mean, just talking to our current coaches, every one of them's like, yeah, that's what we would do next. If we were going to change one thing, that's what we would do. We would realign with the school schedule.
Yeah. Well, clarify this for me. What's two or three good examples of serving the church projects that kids could do? Maybe they have done, or ideally they would do this or this or this, just so people know what exactly what kind of the thing you're talking about.
Yeah, Corbin, you'll do something
Absolutely.
from your church?
Yeah, I'll talk about a couple that I know closer to my area. One through our church, or two through our church, is one, man, we just gave this young man who has a zeal and passion for the Lord, who has been ministered and discipled by a lot of guys on our team already, this opportunity to preach on a Sunday morning. And
Mm,
so it's not easy for a junior or senior high school to preach in front of 700 people on a Sunday morning. And it was a great day. We got to tag team it with our youth minister, and that was his. They worked on it together, prepped it, and they got to deliver it together. And he even received feedback and constructive feedback on those things. And so that was a really cool day for us to see him rise up and do that. We have a young lady in the program who is are naturally very musically talented, and because of just doing smaller roles on our worship teams, her gift has just grown. And this past Sunday, a lot of musicians, if they don't have an instrument in front of their hands, they don't know what to do with these things. And she's in that
hmm
boat. She's a guitar player, and she led worship on just her and another person by herself this past weekend, with nothing in her hands, and just leading our church in worship as a senior in high school. And it was a powerful
mm,
moment. It was really powerful. Another one in our area, shout out to Philippi Church of Christ. We
Yeah.
have a leader there, Courtney Berry. One of the projects she did for her first one was to help redo the stage at their church. And so they have a couple of different services, and they have a family life building where lots of different things happen, but the stage had looked the same, been the same, and she wanted to help promote a bit different environment and worship in a different way. And so she redid the whole stage for them. And took her idea, her concept, and changed the stage. And so she just served her church in that way. We got to see it after the fact through pictures and stuff, and that was her goal. And so just super encouraged by that. Those are a few that I can want to highlight.
Yeah, I'll tag right onto the back of that same girl. She has a lot of questions about women's roles in ministry, and she
Yeah.
and I'll highlight her because she actually won our preaching contest at CCYC this year. And so, I mean, our audience that's going to see this video is going to understand where that's a big question for the church, is where our young ladies serve as they grow up. And so what she did, and this is also something that's a value of our. It's not like written down anywhere, but it's something we've said a lot of times, is the local church leadership needs to be dealing with their own doctrine and everything. Like, no, that's the whole idea of being non-denominational, is that local leadership is figuring these things out. They're reading scripture on their own. So what, as she called me and asked about that, I said, well, this is what I recommend. You should talk with your leadership about it. And maybe, so what she did was she ended up interviewing a bunch of female leaders in the kingdom all over the place and getting their thoughts on things. And then she's working on hosting a little bit of a seminar at her church, where it's just kind of an open forum to talk about women's roles in the church. And then she has a broader goal of kind of writing something up and sort of publishing it so people can read it, because that's something she's passionate about and curious about, and that's beautiful. Um, so that's a cool one. Another one, we have four here at our church, and one of our girls saw a need for our ladies to get together more often. So this coming Saturday, she has scheduled and planned a ladies brunch where she's got the whole menu figured out through other volunteers. She has got some people leading some worship, and then she is going to do a little bit of teaching for the ladies. Super proud of Jordan. She's doing that. Another one at our church started a worship band for the youth group. There wasn't one, and got with some other students and decided to start it and lead it, and learn how to schedule and things like that. And so, everything from practical thing or maybe more aesthetic things or visionary things like direct decorating a stage to like them teaching adults is happening. And that's just what do we do? 6. And so by the end, there'll be 3 times 18 of those.
Hmm.
You know? So that's really
That's
good.
that's really amazing. Well, so you learned a lot of lessons in year one, celebrated a lot. So tell us here with the time that we got left, what's year two looking like for you guys?
Mm.
It's looking good, man. We're excited.
Yeah,
We set the
yeah.
goal this year of 50 kids. Corbin said 25, and then our goal was 50. We initially said that we wanted to have chapters in Eastern North Carolina, chapters in Piedmont, North Carolina, chapters in one in Virginia that would potentially be 2 or 3 in Virginia, and then maybe 3 in North Carolina. Uh, and we had envisioned that that would kick off this time. We have kids that registered from all of those regions, but uh, instead, we decided to just instead of trying to multiply our efforts and create new leadership in all of those areas, just to like centralize our leadership, continue to have our leadership a little bit more centralized, and just invite people to that team from those regions. So our team's bigger this year, and we've kind of officially kicked off what we're calling the steering committee, which is just people from Piedmont, Virginia, Hampton Roads, Virginia area, and Eastern North Carolina. Um, with that, we did a great we had a great number of students apply. I believe over 50 did apply. We ended up
Mhm.
accepting 47 of them. None were actually. We didn't have anyone that we were like they're not ready, that we can't use them. Actually, it was just more like kids that didn't follow through with the whole process. They got started on the application, they didn't see it all the way through. Saw some really good students. Every one of them has to write an essay. This is good, helpful information for anyone who wants to know. They write an essay. They have to turn in a church reference form and a parent permission form. Uh, and then there's their actual application, which is just their personal information. Um, Reading their applications is almost the most endearing, wonderful thing you could do with your time. If it wasn't something that probably should be kept confidential, I would love to just publish a book of these kids' essays. They're so meaningful. Um, so 40, what I say, 40, 47 kids. I think that's where we are right now. Uh, 17 girls in Eastern North Carolina, 12 boys in Eastern North Carolina. You're going to notice a trend. We have way more boys than girls. In Piedmont, we've got 4 girls and 4 boys. In Virginia, we got 8 girls and 2 boys. Um, but that's still a really good group of students. Um, we have a meeting with their parents and mentors and the students Sunday and Monday next week. So we're in the thick of it right now, where they're going to be doing information and letting them know about the upcoming retreat, which is September 19th and 20th. They already know about it. It was advertised as they applied, but just let them
Mhm.
know what to expect. The curriculum has been reworked. We've tweaked a few of the actual monthly lessons and added or taken away things based on some suggestions we've received. Um, we've begun the process. We want to digitalize this thing so that it could be an app or a website. If there's anybody listening, or if you know somebody who would love to, for free, convert our material into an app or a web app, please use your gifts for the kingdom in that way. We haven't found that person yet. So they're still going to be on paper and PDF right now. Um, it will be at Camp Rudolph in Yale, Virginia this year. It's a little more central to those groups. We're going to have 6 girl cohorts and 4 boy cohorts, so 10 cohorts of students.
Wow.
Uh,
Yeah.
if you're doing the math, some of them are of 4 and some of them are of 5 students. So not all of them are 5 students. And just thrilled with the group of coaches we have right now. Um, so that's where we're headed there. Let's see what else, Corbin.
Yeah, so real quick, Chris accidentally said there's more boys than girls, but it's
Yeah.
actually the opposite. There's
Yeah.
more girls, a ton more girls than guys
Thank
right
you.
now.
That
And
was
so
totally an accident. Ton more girls.
we noticed this summer already. And so in some of the places we've been, we've challenged these guys to step up, all right, and to even the playing field a little bit here. Um, yeah, and so I would say that the kickoff retreat this year, while we still have some groups going on, is a unique challenge, uncharted territory for us. So yeah, I think that's a thing that we're going to learn and how to process and lead 2 groups being started and going on at the same time. So I think we could use prayer and support in that way as we
Yeah.
navigate those waters a little bit. That's good
All
though.
right. Well, so we probably should have said this on the front end, but so if someone is interested currently about
Mm.
uh, recommending a kid, or there's a student that's interested, what's the URL that they go to find information?
Mhm.
Yeah, so let me say this very clearly. So right now, you
Yeah.
can't apply. You can't apply today. August 1st was our deadline for this current class, and our administrative team is over our head trying to get them all in and
Yeah.
process. But by September 1st, we should have applications open for the 2026 year. 2026 year.
Uh-huh.
So if you have a kid that wants to apply, you can go to theccYC.com. That's CCYC's website /young leaders. Honestly, it's on the homepage. You can click the button that says Young Leaders, the
Okay.
ccYC.com, and that'll get you started. And we've got processes set up now. This is a cool tool. If a lot of your churches use Planning Center for different things, we've used Planning Center
Thanks,
people as
Ricky.
the back end of our stuff, and using their automations and stuff. So once you apply, it kind of gets you in a queue and it gets things rolling. You'll get some emails and some follow-ups. By all means, encourage a kid 10th through 12th grade, and if they don't live in one of the regions if they live in Roanoke, Virginia, if they live in Boone, and that's okay. A lot of the stuff is done digitally, video. So just because we've mentioned some regions doesn't mean that we're exclusive to those regions. The
Right.
official rule is they have to be in the CCYC network. But as Corbin mentioned, there's kids in West Virginia coming to CCYC. So we just want to serve
Mhm.
kids for the kingdom.
Well, guys, I want to commend you, and as guys are other people are watching this. Number one, the big picture, even apart from kids, is to figure out when the Holy Spirit says, "Hey, let's get busy," is to
Right.
say, "Okay, let's get busy." And so
Mhm.
I just want to commend you guys for doing that in general. But then the application of that is raising up the next generation of leaders in our churches. It's such a huge need, and so to have some kind of vehicle to which we can do that, and in some ways, even if they never attend or get into a cohort, but that even church leaders are just inspired to have that I see in you conversation, and they ask students to do things at their churches that they might not have done. That's a win in and of itself. But then to be able to join a
Mhm.
group like this, having been part of a program, different format, but similar to this when I was in high school a long time ago, the encouragement of knowing there were other kids out there like me that were interested in ministry was enormous. And so for you all to create this whole environment where kids are going to know each other through the retreat and then the conference later in the year and the cohort that they're a part of, that's just huge. And so I think that's the program that you put together is really strong, and I would just envision that it's just going to continue to grow and grow as churches see the opportunity that's right in front of them if they'll just capitalize on it. So thanks for your leadership on this,
Mhm.
and we're just looking forward to um, more and more opportunity to get kids involved through the Young Leaders
Yeah.
Program.
Yeah.
Thank you
So,
so much.
so if they've got questions after the fact, is there a place on the CCYC page to ask questions?
Yes, there's a website, there's an email address on there, but both of us have CCYC email addresses. You'd be happy to reach out to Chris at theccYC.com or Corbin at theccYC.com.
Okay, so
Either one of us could be,
THECCYC, the
yeah, because
CCYC.
CCYC.com without the THE was owned by the Cape Cod Yacht Club, I think, and I couldn't get it from them. So
All
we
right,
had to
the
add the.
CCYC.com.
That's right.
Yeah. All right. Well, I hope people connect with you guys. Thanks for your time, but more than that, thanks for your leadership here. And only this side of heaven will we have even a glimpse of the impact of what this is going to mean for the next. I mean, students going into ministry, another 50 years of ministry ahead of these kids, whether it's vocational ministry or significant service to their church, regardless of their vocation. We're talking about a couple generations worth of ministry activity that you're equipping students to do now, and that's huge. So thanks for your time tonight and your leadership for us in general.
I
Thank you, Tim.
appreciate it, man.
All
Yeah. Thank
right.
you.
All right. Have a great night. And we hope to see you next month for our webinar. Neil Wheeler is doing one on soul care for leaders when God says no. So you
Mhm.
may want to check out that one. But otherwise, we hope to see you on a future webinar.
I'm John Maurice, president of Mid-Atlantic Christian University. For 77 years, Mid-Atlantic Christian University has stood the test of time, remaining faithful to Christ and His church. Today, we continue our mission of educating extraordinary Christian leaders to serve in the church and in the marketplace.
No matter where you look, we need Christian leadership to help us to be the people God has called us to be. And so we want to equip leaders that can make a difference no matter where God leads them.
Each individual has particular unique capabilities, and what we want to do is enable them to develop into the leaders that God desires for them to be.
Our department is to try and help people to see themselves in God's story and to strengthen their ability to continue to use God and the Bible in their own ministry, whatever that may be.
We have 2 brand new buildings on our campus. We have Heritage Hall, which is our academic building, which has state-of-the-art classrooms, technology, learning aids. It is a fantastic building. It is extremely important to have facilities that are going to help students facilitate learning. We also have a brand new dining facility, Allagood Commons, and the Mustang Cafe. And it is a great asset and a resource for us as it helps establish a place of community for all of our students, staff, and faculty, and even community members who come and share meals in our cafeteria. We are blessed indeed by the campus that God has given us to use for His glory. Mid-Atlantic Christian University would not be able to exist if it were not for our donors, whether they are individuals or churches who support us regularly with finances and with prayer. We exist only by the grace of God.
My favorite part about serving is seeing the students grow. To see freshmen come in, often not knowing what they want to do in life, and to see them to develop into the leaders God's called them to be, and then go out and make a difference. I love hearing the stories of students and hearing their journeys and to help them as best I can to become who God's called them to be.
I am excited about what God is going to do to impact the world through this institution, and Mid-Atlantic is glad to be a part of God's plan.